Maybe when you're the host, you have higher bandwidth.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. It wasn't so much of an issue with version 4, but when they released version 5, which I guess has more encryption, it seemed to really grind to a halt on me here.
That's reason number 400 that I have a full-blown desktop for working at home. I don't even notice it, man. 30 gigs, i9, life's good.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. We're on the now broadcasting to YouTube, I believe. And we are on PieDAO's development call number 2. So I'm just loading up the agenda for today here. Here we are. And let me get everybody promoted to panelists and mics enabled and all that fun stuff.
It's nice publishing the agenda on GitHub.
Yeah, well, it's a development call, so I figured that was a good place for it. Plus, it makes it nice and easy to push it into our documentation site. We're using Gitbook for that, so everything hooks up real nice. All right, Mick, you should be a panelist now, which should allow you to present. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And could someone verify for me that YouTube is working?
Thing.
We'll deal with that later if it's not. Okay, well, let's get started. Wanted to give everyone an opportunity to.
Yeah, it's working fine.
Excellent, excellent. All right, wanted to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. We've got 2 new people on the call today, Kit and Travis. So Travis, why don't you go ahead and open it up, give a little background about yourself, what you're doing here.
Sure. I'm a software developer. I've been working on Ethereum projects for about 3 or 4 years now, mostly. I was the previous lead developer for Market Protocol, which is the protocol exists due to the nature of open source, but the company that built it no longer does. Yeah, I was a lead developer there. I was mostly in charge of doing a lot of Web3 engineering on that side. I built the exchange and a bunch of other things. I've also done a lot of work with a few other protocols and groups in Ethereum, and have competed at several ETH hackathons and been to, I've been around the community for a while. I'm here to just kind of help out. Dan and I have been longtime partners even before we both kind of moved into the crypto space. And so we've just worked together for probably 6 or so years now. And anytime one of us has or does something, we kind of migrate to each other and work together on whatever that project might be. And so I'm here to help out on a few tickets and be a part of the DAO.
And obviously, I'm real thrilled to have Travis here. I choose to work with him regularly because he's one of the best devs I've worked with in my career, which is maybe 3 times as long as we've been working together. So really happy to have him here and thrilled that he's the first person to take on a bounty for PieDAO here. So we'll be talking a little bit about that later. Kit, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm a manager type. I've co-founded a couple companies, so if I want to show off, I say I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I've never made a big exit. So I have a history in software development. The first company did content management, and then later in 2011, I did a startup that was a social media startup, and well, that one failed. And then I wound down the company, got interested in blockchain, and I've been participating in various projects over the years. For a while, I was very active in a blockchain project called R-Chain, which is a bunch of mathematicians based in Seattle. But that one kind of crashed and almost burned. And now I'm busy with other projects. I'm usually based in Rotterdam, a few blocks away from Mick. But at the moment, I'm in Tokyo waiting out the coronavirus. And so I'm happy to be able to join one of your calls. And I'm a big fan of PieDAO, and I see lots of potential there. So I'm looking forward to the future for you guys.
Well, great. Thanks for joining. We're happy you could make it to one of the calls. We'll be having these a little bit earlier, as I mentioned before we started recording. So hope to have you on some more in the future. Fabian, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? You can unmute your mic. Okay, no need.
I think he's raising his hand.
Yeah, he raised his hand, but declined to introduce himself at the moment. So if you become a little less busy later and want to, feel free. And no problem at all there. We're happy to have you on the call. So I'm just going to dive right into it. So we'll start with a little bit of a review of last week. The main goals last week were to create a flash loan demo on testnet, and Mick's going to talk about that next. So happy to say we've achieved that result. Likewise, I was on creating the bounty program. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after the flash loan experimentation results. And we did succeed in getting our first bounty with Travis, as I mentioned before. Kind of worked out some of the kinks in that process, and I've created a document on the doc site, which we can go ahead and go through as we get to that section. And that's it for the results of this last week. We also got an infographic on the timeline, which we didn't talk about in the call last week, but we did go ahead and put that together for everybody. So it looks like we have a few more people joining. I'm going to step back to introductions for a minute. Mira, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, I'm Meyer.
Meyer, sorry about that.
No worries. It's like if you say it right, then you've been like doing some weird research on me, and I should be
Gotcha.
But so anyway, I work for like a permission blockchain company, kind of like across a glass wall from all these cool projects that are happening in the space, and just like to get more involved and be present for all these really cool DAO developments. I think DAOs are really the coolest thing to come out of this, and the most potential to be really awesome influences in the world.
Great. Well, glad you were able to join us today. We're happy to have you paying attention and joining the call.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm probably going to butcher your name as well. Avesh? Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? Okay, we'll skip for the moment if you.
Shy.
We'll skip for the moment. If you'd like to introduce yourself later, feel free to ping me in the chat. I'll be happy to allow you to. All right, so let's move on. We'll have Mick demo his flash loan experimentation results here. And I know he's got some exciting stuff there. Just as a little bit of a background on this, we have one pool already deployed to mainnet on Balancer, BTC++. Largest BTC pool and largest private pool on the Balancer network, and we're going to be deploying a new pool, USD++, in the next several weeks here. So we'll look to announce more about that on our community call on Thursday. But we're also interested in the whole flash loan thing. We've added a number of additional features to Balancer pools, including circuit breakers, some other things like that. And we thought flash loans would be another great feature add to that. We don't know exactly when we're going to do that, but we wanted to experiment with it a little bit and see if there were any gotchas from a technical perspective. So Mick, why don't you take it away?
Oh, yes, yeah. Good news. The transaction just went through, so it's actually working, which is amazing. Let me
Excellent.
share
You can
my-
go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, and pick this one. So I think we all know what flash loans are, right? Basically, you can loan some money, and as long as you bring it back in the same transaction, you get to take the loan, and you pay it back with the fee. If you do it in the same transaction, you can take the loan, with which you can do like arbitrage or refinancing of CDPs or whatever stuff we might have not come up with yet, but it's possible, which is really cool. So let me take you to the code. I think it's maybe nice to look at how it actually works, because we're doing the managed pool on top of the balancer.
You please zoom out a bit, Mick.
Oh yeah. Zoom in. Here it is. This one coming down. Because we're building on top of balancer, we need to somehow pull the liquidity out and then flash loan it and then return it back again without breaking anything in between or messing up the prices inside of the balancer pool. So at the start of the transaction, we check how much liquidity was in there. So we check the balance of the token inside of the pool. And then we check if the balance does not go too low, which might mess up with the mod within the balancer pool. We calculate the fee, we get the weight, and then we unbind a bit of token. We actually rebind it, but we take some token out of the underlying balancer pool. We send it to the one receiving the flash loan. Then we execute the operation of the flash loan recipient, which they can pass their own parameters in. This one, let me get back. Here we are again. And then we, after the flash loan has been done, like the operation has been done, we pull back the tokens from the recipient of the flash loan, so we know for sure that the tokens are back. Like some other protocols, they check the balance afterwards, but that might end up in some funky situations if we do some re-entry and weird stuff. Then we gulp the token, which means that you get the accounting of the underlying balancer pool in line with the actual amount that's in there, because otherwise you could do like a trade and change the balances and sandwich it in some weird ways. And then we rebind the token back again inside of the pool. And I did a little demo with what it actually does. So we do have to like the execute flash loan. So we take the flash loan from the pool, and afterwards we send the profit back. But inside there, I've deployed two balancer pools with the same tokens, but there's some sort of form of a spread in there, and it buys token B with token A to the amount of 1, and then sells it back to the other pool, and then approves the flash loan pool to pull the tokens back again, and afterwards it sends your profit out of there. So it's a bit difficult to see maybe, so I just did the transaction in which we can see that we flash loan one token A, then we send one token A to the other pool, to the balancer pool, we trade it in the balancer pool, we get some token B back, then we sell the token B again. This is the amount of token A we get back. We send back the flash loan, I set the fee to 0, and we get back the profit. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Any
That's very
challenges you encountered along the way related to balancer specifically?
This is the call stack, by the way, which is quite big. It's not bad. It's like 400k gas for a flash loan. That's okay. Challenge related to balancer. Well, I needed to lock the trading, because if the trading is open while we're doing a flash loan, you might trade against the pool with flash loan money, which can cause that that you can buy tokens for less or something, or that you can influence the prices because you're taking a flash loan. Like if you take half of the tokens out, the price jumps ×2, and then you can dump into the pool and then return the tokens again. So we don't want that, and that we did in this way. So we check if the trading is open. If so, we close it, then execute, and then open it again. Or if it's not open, then we just execute. So that's slapped on here. I needed to get the balances after the flash loan back in line with the underlying pool. But other than that, it's quite easy to do. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Good stuff, Mick.
That's very cool. So like I think from a few features perspective, like, are you thinking about possibility for the flash loan functionality by itself within the pool? Like you can have like flash loan activated and then trading not activated or anything like that. And
yeah, we could do something like that. We can like pause the flash loans, or yeah, I think that would make sense in some cases. But if there's something wrong with your flash loan, you might as well push an upgrade. Or well, it makes sense to be able to turn it up. Yeah.
And then you were mentioning this fact that you disabled the trading before the actual flash loan is executed, right?
Yeah.
Can you go back to that piece of code, please?
That's here. That's used by a modifier. So the modifier is here, and then we disable and enable after the actual function itself.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, because otherwise you can basically.
I understand. Yeah, I understand why this happens. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
And this doesn't break any compatibility, right? In any way with PieDAO.
No. After the transaction is done, it's exactly the same again. Like nothing ever happened. Well, there will be some extra money inside of the pool because of the fees, but that will be get.
Because this fees in principle could go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, in theory they could go to the DAO, or it could be like a 50-50 split, or it could be going to the pool or somewhere else, donated for something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how this compares like to other flash loan in terms of gas usage? Like, is it like fairly more expensive than any other flash loan stuff, or cheaper, or pretty much the same?
I honestly don't know exactly how it compares. I think it should be relatively comparable, and there might be some room to optimize some stuff still.
Cool. Nice, great job.
Yeah, but 400K for like doing a flash loan and 2 trades, it's quite okay. I think 400K, guys.
No, I think it's okay. I'm just trying to understand, like, from a competitive perspective, how this compares to other solutions. Because at the end of the day, like, you have like 3 levers: one is fee, one is gas cost, and the other one is liquidity in the pool.
Yeah,
and you kind of want to be competitive in all 3 in order, to make this happen. Cool stuff.
Yeah. And I think it would also be interesting to do like the flash minting of the pool itself. That will be really cool to do.
Awesome. Anyone have any questions or comments? I mean, you guys can just go ahead and feel free to unmute your mic and talk at will. This is very informal format here.
Yeah,
all right,
I
cool.
think like we should really keep it as an open call as much as possible. Like, everybody should.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone's mic is open, so feel free to. The only reason we're doing this webinar style is because we've had some screen hacking before. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that was great. Okay.
Kid, I saw you unmute yourself. You got any feedback?
Well, I've been the question that Alessio asked over the gas usage, I was curious about that, and I was also wondering what happens in times like now when there's a lot of network congestion.
Yeah, when there's a lot of network congestion, people will take less flash loans, or only if it's very profitable to use them. So, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely costs a lot more to do so.
Yeah, like arbitrage, you need bigger arbitrage opportunities to act on them. Yeah.
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 I think there is probably like some consideration to be made eventually in the future when we are gonna end up having, you know, some ETH2, right? Like, I don't think this is gonna happen anytime soon, so like I'm not worried. Like, and even if something happens, I strongly imagine. Well, I kind of feel that, you know, they're gonna develop if like the current mainnet as one unique shard for like a very long time, so that shouldn't be an issue. But maybe something like to consider for the future, like yeah.
Yeah, sharding will be an issue for flash loans, I think, right?
Yeah, well, it would be an issue for a number of things. Like, and then if they eventually roll out the current main chain as a sole shard, then that shouldn't be quite an issue. So
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, or maybe the entirety of DeFi will be on chain shard or a
Yeah,
couple.
they will fix it before that happens for sure. Somehow. Cool stuff.
Well, cool. Why don't we move on then to the bounty program. Share my screen again here. So last week we talked about creating a kind of demo bounty program. Link to the notes from the call from last week, including a link to the YouTube recording, are all there. If you want to review that and didn't get a chance to, but the idea is essentially to reward contributors with a reasonable amount of DAO or a governance token for any technical contributions they bring. So as a quick overview, I created this this doc in the PieDAO documentations. I also threw a link to this down at as a comment on the PR for today's call. And when I update the notes of today's call, I'll make sure to put that in there as well. So if you want to follow along, you can go there. Basically, we have a bunch of issues outstanding in the GitHub organization. As we talked about last week, we're using ZenHub as a project management tool. This is free for anyone who wants to download the browser extension, and free for open source. It creates kind of a hybrid agile Kanban approach. So we have a number of issues here that are fully ready to go in the Icebox, good first issues, some stuff in the backlog that we already have planned to work on, and the label up here, good first issue, is a really good one to pick up on. But basically the process here is you would go ahead and pick out a couple of these issues that you want to do. Travis, in his initial proposal, picked out 4 of the blockchain ones, and then hop into our Discord channel, Discord server. We have a channel called the development, where you can kind of propose that you'd like to work on these issues, link to them, and propose an amount. Travis here basically took a rate of $75 an hour and an estimate of what he expected to do and how long he expected that each issue would take. We debated that a little bit and generally agreed on a price of Ethereum to use as a conversion rate, and derived a DOE price based on that. And then once we had all kind of agreed on the general framework of doing that work, and he's actually going to do really well if this this ETH price keeps pumping. And then we created this document kind of outlining the entire proposal and put it up for a governance vote on the PieDAO Aragon DAO for full governance approval. The approval here is basically, as I mentioned in the document, to pre-approve the work that he's doing within these time ranges and at this price, and to mark that he wants it to be sent to this address. I did in the document here go ahead and say that people could request individual issues go to specific ETH addresses. As I thought about it a little bit more after we went through this, I realized that For one reason or another, you might want to have DOE in multiple different addresses. So kind of allowed for that in the completion section of the work here. But this would, on approval, you also get added to the contributors team on GitHub. And you'll see that that right now is just Travis and myself, since I went ahead and created the team. So as you guys hopefully participate in the bounty program, you'll get added. A couple notes on DOE if you're not familiar with it so far. It is a non-transferable governance token at the moment, which means that you cannot currently move it to a different Ethereum wallet once it is minted to that wallet. So it's very important that you pick a secure wallet to receive your DOE at. Hardware wallets recommended, but just know that there is really no way to move that if you lose your seed or private key or something like that. So be aware of that as you're requesting your DOE at the end of the project. And we really like the approach that Travis took here of creating an hourly range. I think this is a really good way for anyone to go. Just so that if for some reason your, excuse me there with my phone, if for some reason your time estimate's a little bit off, we understand that development isn't always clear. And then we ask that you bill for actual hours worked at the end of this. So anything within the range will almost definitely be approved by governance. It's already been pre-approved. Anything outside of the range, like say you spent 10 hours on an 8-hour subject, that would be something that we'd have to discuss before we put in a vote to approve an additional amount. So do make sure that you're clear on the scope and discuss it with us fully in the development channel of GitHub before you, or Discord before you go ahead and make that initial proposal. So all of this, as I said, is documented in the doc here, open to suggestions and pull requests on any improvement to this. I think we'll probably be revising the program as we go on and get a couple of other people to contribute. Obviously, we haven't gone through a full cycle yet. Travis has just been approved yesterday and just started work today. Couple of other things I want to mention about this is once you take on a story here and start it, we ask that you move it from the backlog to the in progress column. You'll see that notes are added once the governance vote is approved, and all of those stories are then moved to the backlog so that they're we all know that they're ready to go. If you have any additional comments or anything like that while you are actually developing the feature, the request is that you put that into the issue directly or come into the Discord server to discuss it with us. We're happy to answer any questions or help revise anything along the way. Travis, how was this experience for you? You want to comment on it at all?
Sure. I mean, it felt like a typical contract negotiation to me, which is good. It's for any freelancer, it should feel familiar.
Excellent, excellent.
I mean, that's kind of the approach I took with it. I just broke it down as I normally would. My only request is that the stories maybe a bit more information about just maybe a bit more information about like kind of a little more detail about what is expected of the ticket. It has all of the like all of the questions answered in a user story if it was being written from an agile view, but it doesn't have like kind of the details about maybe some pointers or whatever might be needed to complete the story. I think for at least for the early stuff while people are onboarding, it could help to be a little more detailed about like the overall picture of what you want.
Excellent. Good note. And yeah, obviously, if you're taking on an issue and have any more questions on detail, feel free to ask. I think we had these ones are kind of interesting because we had initially envisioned that Nick would be doing these features, and you kind of hopped into that and wanted to take that on right away. So, but yeah, I get your point. We particularly with these stories, there's a private repository that Balancer has been nice enough to give us access to and give Travis access to, so he can see their implementation of these functions. And we could have gone into a little bit more description around exactly how they're implementing them and what we might do the same or differently. So good note.
Awesome, Travis. Like, really looking forward to to see you contribute more in general. And I don't know if you have any understanding of when you would like to start showing us something, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm
Welcome
looking
on
forward
board.
to it too. Thank you. You've done some great work, so it's pretty fun. And I just like the idea, and I've always liked working with Dan, and he generally surrounds himself with pretty fun people to work with too. So,
Awesome.
yeah, that's about it. I think the process is pretty good. I think it's better than most other approaches that I've done in the space. I feel like the time value of the dev is valued, whereas it's not just like race to the bottom prices. And I like that there's a range for each one. I think that's really important because everyone that's dev knows that nothing is a fixed moment in time. And so there's always a range of how long it might take because of the unknowns. So I think that angle is very unique, and I like that approach a lot. So I think that's something, as you refine it, that's what you can refine it around.
Excellent, excellent. Anyone else have comments on this this general approach? Anything else they'd like to see us do along with this? Anything that's worked well for them in the past with other bounty programs? Looks like we have Andre who's joined us, so I wanted to give him a quick opportunity to introduce himself as well. You've been enabled.
Hello, I'm working with similar DAO, which is called UniDAO, MarsDAO. We are working with DeFi investment, and yeah, just curious what you guys doing here. So just followed for a while Discord and decided to check the development call. So interested maybe for some points of collaboration, partnership, something.
Well, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Well, you'll see that one other note about ZenHub, which is kind of neat, is up here. All of the repositories that are active are included in this board, regardless of which one you happen to be on. So you can even see our pull request for the call today shows up right here on this board. So happy to continue to refine the ZenHub process as well, not just on the general descriptions in the calls. We're not yet. There's all sorts of other things we can do here, like story points and releases, and we're not quite at a point where we feel that that's necessary. So happy to get feedback as we continue. Okay, so the one other thing I wanted to discuss on the call today, just kind of ties in nicely to this in general, is the timeline. We've been working for the last last month or so actually on just sort of finalizing what we plan to do over the course of the rest of this year. And so you can see, Q1 was primarily about creating the DAO, creating the community, developing the initial balance for smart pools. We have some cool stuff coming up in Q3. We're going to be working in collaboration with some folks in the industry to create a DeFi token. There's a committee election development process that we're going to be working towards, which will tie in very nicely into our staking model so that committees can be elected to deal with things like provisioning different different tokens and new pools, dealing with the governance of the different weights within the pools, things of that nature, so that we don't require a full governance token or a full governance vote every time something needs to be managed. And then we're going to be moving into our staking app development and the contracts for that in Q4 with a target of launching that sometime around the completion of our seed in 2021. We're also going to be, we're really excited about experimenting with perpetual swaps with the UMA protocol. We've been talking a lot with Hart and the other people over at their team about how we can use their contracts and their protocol within our pies. So we're really excited to get moving on that. That'll be critical to the future development of things like AWP++. We're also going to be looking at the creation of our secondary token for a 2-token model between DOE, and we envision this being called Flower, which will be the non-locked version of the token and what can be used in election voting and other things related to the staking app. So obviously you're going to be able to swap DOE and Flower. We'll have a lot more information coming out about that over the course of the next couple of months. Alessio, anything else you want to add to that?
Speaking, I just want to highlight that, as you guys might have known, but otherwise, this is a good time to kind of explain that. Like one of the goals that PieDAO always says is really to figure out alternative ways to make governance as smooth as possible. And eventually we realized, like by studying in the space, that a situation where a large amount of token holders will eventually be involved like on day-to-day basis is actually not sustainable, as we have seen in corporate worlds many times, and that's why we have board of director and commissions like and departments and management. And that like these kind of efforts that we're going to go through Q3 and Q4 will really try to fix this issue in decentralized organization, eventually try to find a sustainable model for for electing commission of very specific people taking care of very specific things, and basically try to institutionalize a delegation model which fits into the staking model of the DAO itself. And I really hope, like, I'm looking forward to release like some more information. I'm trying to put all this research like into some paperish version. I know you guys I maybe too much sometimes in the times in the things I write, but I really would like to for everyone to understand the reasoning behind all the little pieces of that, so that we can have like a full discussion on all the details. But that's like part of, I'm really excited about this part of the DAO. I think it's something new, it's something fresh that hasn't been tried before, and I really hope besides the context of PieDAO, this will help in general, like the Aragon DAO ecosystem, as this would be developed as an Aragon D app, and potentially like the more broader DAO space.
Yeah, and on that note, we have some, we've been working with the Aragon team to talk about their new SDK, which they're currently developing. So we'll be putting up some issues probably in the next couple of weeks about some custom development around the voting and token requests and things of that nature leading into the seed round. So if you're more on the Web3 side of things, I think we'll definitely with the Aragon stuff and with this staking app and election app, we'll have a lot more Web3 bounty work coming up soon.
Yeah, very cool stuff.
Cool. Well, everyone, I want to thank you.
Dennis just joined?
Dennis just joined, yes. Okay, Dennis, would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Hello, guys. I'm just let's say passing by. I'm just very interested in the PieDAO development, and right now I'm just looking around.
Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome. Yeah, you can see what you missed. We're live streaming on YouTube, and so we'll be putting up a link on that. So I know you joined a little bit late. We're about to wrap up here, but we'll definitely talk more about all of this stuff in the next call next week. I'd love to see the rest of you guys join us. The other thing we have is we've been working with Patricio and the team over at POAP to create some unique tokens for each one of these calls, so everybody who attends the call can prove that they did. We'll be hopefully doing some fun things around reputation in the future. We don't have any specific plans, but these will definitely be related to that going forward. So real quick here, I'm going to go ahead and end the YouTube stream and the share, but if you guys could all stay on, I'm going to send you each a link where you can claim your POAP token for this week, and we look forward to seeing those stack up in our regular participants accounts.
Great stuff.
All right, thank you everyone for joining. Like I said, stay on. I'm going to send you your POAP token links, and I'm going to stop the YouTube stream now.
Before we go, maybe we should remind that we're gonna have like these social events happening on the, I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but because of the DAO Rush Week, there will be a follow-up event which is gonna be completely social in nature. As a matter of fact, it's basically a drinking game. We're just gonna, get wasted on Zoom. Friday, sometime around Friday night, I think, like 5 p.m. CES time or European time.
5 p.m. Eastern, yeah.
Even if you don't drink, you're also very welcome, right?
Well, not very well, no. No, for sure. Feel free to join, like, and just, come hang with us. Laugh at us, yes. I think we might even schedule the monthly community call, I think, for Thursday. We're waiting for confirmation, and but all this information will be on the Discord channel. If you're not that yet, feel free to join the channel. I'm actually gonna pop out an invite right now. That's definitely the best place to kind of keep yourself posted with all the things happening in the community. So there you go. And also to request to your POAP link. I don't know, Dan, are you gonna distribute those through Discord?
I've already sent them to most of the attendees. Just send them to the panelists now. So check your Zoom chat real quick. You should have a link. But if you have any issues at all with this, feel free to hop in and ping me in Discord. I'll be happy to help you get those tokens distributed. I know they just released a new feature where you can kind of juice the gas price a little bit if you want to get yours faster, because by default these tokens are sent out with 1.1 GUI, which is far below the safe minimum of recent weeks here. So you may want to consider.
We're also waiting for the first one, right? We have like one more POAP token to be received for the first development call.
That's correct. Anyone who was on the first development call will receive a link. I'll be pinging you in Discord for that. We do have those links now, so we'll be doing those soon.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks everyone for joining.